Hello, this is Iolani Haleski, St. Johns County naturalist. I'm out here at North Track of Deep Creek Preserve, which is a huge waterway, mostly swamps and wetland area. We're in the upland section of it, and right behind me is the map that you can see of the area. So it's about 2.7 miles, a little bit of a loop at the end, but this is all swampland and wetlands. You have Moccasin Branch coming in this direction, which is not really shown on the map, but this is kind of like a little peninsula of upland area. There's a little bit of wet area that you cross. Usually it's not flooded, but it's a beautiful area to see all kinds of animals, and turkey and bobcat and lots of gopher tortoises and things like that. It's an amazing little area that a lot of people pass right off of 13. The parking lot is right up there, right next to 13, and you walk down this old logging trail, and we're gonna take a little bit of a trip down the rest of this area and kind of check it out. It is blazed, but because this is a logging trail, there are a few other parts that go off of the trail that are not blazed. So as you see way off in the distance, there's a tree that has a red diamond on it. So you follow those blazes and you should be pretty good to go. We're gonna walk down here a little ways and see what we can find. I'm out here at Deep Creek. I'm looking at a place that looks like Water Management's gonna be doing a fire pretty soon, a controlled fire. Now, Florida is meant to burn. It's designed to burn. All of the plants and trees and everything has adapted to the lightning capital of the world, except one other place in Australia. Florida gets a lot of lightning strikes. So a lot of these plants have oils in their leaves, have their most of their energy and their power is in their roots. So if it burns over, it really can produce plants really quickly. Florida was called La Florita for a reason. When they landed here, they called it La Florita because that means the land of flowers. The Native Americans did controlled burns all the time, or prescribed burns, should I say. They don't call them controlled anymore. Prescribed burns means they set the forest on fire. You know, they're following the same landscape and the same concept that the earth naturally did with fire strikes, but they could do it and create more food for them, more food for the animals, which of course it makes more of a prosperous area for them to live in. You can tell that they've done a burn a few seasons ago by looking at this pine tree. It has burn marks going all the way up to about 6 feet tall, and you don't want it to go too much farther. So they don't allow the foliage down here to get too thick. They want it to stay kind of thin every 3 to 5 years. Just like pine trees have all of their energy up in the high above in the treetops, all of their food sources way up there. So it's not really creates a problem when you have fires. I want to show you this. The reason why I can guarantee they're going to do a controlled burn, or prescribed burn, sorry, because they're starting to take down little areas called fire breaks. So they can burn one side of it and allow it to go a certain way depending on the wind and depending on how wet it is, and not get it to catch over to another side. And so they will walk these and make them burn in a certain direction. This is a very interesting place. It's going to be pretty cool to see this area actually get burned and see what comes back. Often all of the plants that rely on the controlled burns, like Bartram's Ixia and things like that, the seeds are all there ready to go. So as soon as it burns, you're going to have tons and tons of flowers. Really amazing. And this thicket will be thinned out. You'll actually be able to see through it a little bit. It sounds devastating to burn an area, but if you do it in sections, it's actually beneficial. It causes a lot of food, like I said before, to come back. We're going to walk down a little ways and see what we can find. Florida is meant to burn. It's the lightning capital of the world. We get more strikes than just about anywhere in the world, except one other place in Australia. But one very interesting thing that happens in burns is what pine trees will do. So when they're babies, they have this, like, I wish I could find a baby one, and I don't have one yet. But they grow in this like real tight bundle of pine needles, green ones. And if it burns during that period of time, a lot of times the burn will go through and not kill the actual tree. But through a phase, it's called the rocket phase, it will shoot up just above where the flames of the burns normally happen, like this one right here. Let me show you this. This is really cool. This one just has gone through its rocket phase. So you have this pine tree that came up, and it's about 6 feet tall. And it's right there. It's still kind of going through its rocket phase. But the burns, if it's a normal occurrence where it burns every 3 to 5 years, give or take, the flames won't get high enough to kill this little pine tree. It's pretty cool to see how nature has adapted to even lightning strikes and burns. Another adaptation that we find is a keystone species. Now, keystone is it comes from the idea of an arch of stones. So you put stones in an arch, you have to have the one at the top. It's usually a wedge shape, and it holds the whole arch together. So without that one, the whole thing would fall down. So that's kind of where that comes from. The keystone species in this area is the gopher tortoise. And I have a little gopher tortoise nest that's right here behind me. Usually you can tell because it has a very large sand pile that's coming out called the skirt. They bury their eggs in there, and that's where their babies usually come out and hatch. But this gopher tortoise hole, you can tell the shape and size of the gopher tortoise living in it by the shape and size of the actual hole. These guys go down, they dig somewhere between 9 feet or so down and up to about 20 so feet in radius, and have multiple pockets. Now those different rooms, one of them's used for waste and one of them's used for sleeping in, and the other rooms are waiting for folks to come in and join them. So this tortoise knows that someday it's going to burn around here, and its job is to create rooms for anything that can't fly or run faster than the flames can go. So you'll have lizards and snakes and frogs and all kinds of different mice and things that live down in here during the burn. An interesting thing about that is science has had videos where they put down inside during a burn, and they've seen rattlesnakes sitting right next to mice. And it's almost like game off, like they're not going to do anything while there's the fire going on upstairs. So during a pandemic for the animals, you know, they all kind of work together and help each other out. Once it's all over, they all come back out and resume normal activities. Pretty cool to watch nature and see how what we can learn from it. This one's an amazing species, really beautiful creature.